So this is lesson number 81, Algebra 2, Complex Numbers and Real Numbers, Products of Complex Conjugates, and the Division of Complex Numbers. Alright, first of all, back in lesson 64, we started talking about complex numbers, or, well, we're just going to call them imaginary numbers. And remember, the standard form for an imaginary number was a plus bi, where a and b were actual numbers and I was the imaginary part. And we talked about how any number could be written in that form, like the number 3 could be written as 3 plus 0I, which means that would be 0. Or the number 3I could be written as 0 plus 3I, where the real part was 0. So really any number can be written in that form, a plus bi. Okay, so not much to that. And if we want to write it in that form, a plus bi, and we have something like 4 minus 3i over 5, that is not written in the a plus bi form. So we have to split these up. Split that up with that. So we have 4/5 minus 3i over 5. Now, it's in this form. The real part, and then the imaginary part. Alright, next part. Okay, so in past lessons, when we would have something like this, and we multiply it by its conjugate, which is, the numbers and letters are the same, it's just we change the sign. The denominator here is going to be in the form of x squared minus 9, or what they'll say, x squared minus whatever the second number is squared. So let's just call it y squared. So that just means any number. And that's what the bottom is. Alright, so we've already gone over that in past lessons. But I do want to look at what we do when we have something like 3 plus 4i in the denominator. I don't really care what's in the... It's just like having a radical. You can't have a radical in the denominator. We can't have an I in the denominator. So we multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. And it ends up being this number squared minus this number squared. Okay, so that's a 9, and this becomes a 16i squared, and the I squared is actually a negative 1, so we get 9 plus 16 equals 25 for our denominator when we multiply by the conjugate. So let's look at x squared minus 2x plus 7 over x plus 3. Now when we do this, if you remember, we have x plus 3 divided by x squared minus 2x plus 7. Okay, and we did the division that way. We cannot do that when we have a complex number. So what we do when we have something like 2 plus 3i over, or divided by 4 minus 2i, we multiply by the conjugate, like that, and this then becomes that squared minus 2i squared, which would be 4i squared, which would be 16 minus 4 times negative 1, which is 16 plus 4 equals 20. So my denominator ends up being 20. Then I use my FOIL method to multiply those. So let's get all this out of the way. And we know we got 20 for the denominator. So let's go ahead and do 2 plus 3i times 4 plus 2i. And we're going to use FOIL. So the first is going to be 2 times 4 is 8. The outside is going to be 2 times 2i. The inside is going to be 3i plus 4, and the last is going to be 6i squared. So we get 8 plus 16i. I squared is -1, so that'd be minus 6. So we get 2 plus 16i for our numerator over our 20. Alright, so we're not too happy with that because it isn't in the right form, nor is it reduced. So let's split them up to get them in the right form. Then let's reduce. 8, 10, 4, 5. And that ends up being our answer. Let's look at one more and we will be done with this lesson. It doesn't seem like it's too incredibly awful. 4 minus 2i over 2i minus 3. So again, we're going to multiply by the conjugate. And we get 2i squared minus 3 squared. So again, we're working on the denominator. I squared is -1. 2 times 2 is 4, so that gives me that and that, which gives me a negative 13 for my denominator. Okay, so I'll put that there. Then I'll multiply my numerators. And again, we're going to use the FOIL method. First, 8i, outside 12, inside 4i squared, and last. Okay, so this is going to be the -2 will be a -1, so these will change to a plus 4 rather than a minus 4i squared. So plus 4. So we have 2i plus 16 there. Alright, so, and that's going to be over our -13. So let's split those up, put them in the right format. Okay, and they're backwards because my I needs to come last. Make sure you take your signs with you. And I've got -16/13 over -2/13. And that's it for lesson number 81. Not a whole lot to it, just multiplying those conjugates.